Are. And this is the show where every week I interview a different Hellenic Polytheist so they can share their spirituality, their faith, and tell their story. And today I'm super excited because I'm a fan of this person. I have Miguel with me. So, how are you, Miguel?
I'm doing great, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well. Like I said, super excited because I haven't told you this yet, but you have one of my favorite TikTok pages, but we'll talk about that. And you, for sure, what made me super excited is myself and Aphrodite Child love your altars to Aphrodite, and we'll definitely talk about that later as well.
Of
And
course.
so, before we go too far ahead, what I'm going to ask you the first question, and that is, what does Hellenic polytheism mean to you?
For me, it means it's a whole big bag of things. It's revering the gods of antiquity, specifically the Greco-Roman ones for me. I guess I kind of am more of like a revivalist slash reconstructionist. Um, and it means just kind of connecting with something that I feel like a lot of people have lost, and I think a lot of Hellenic polytheism is also just kind of grounding yourself and seeing aspects of the gods that are kind of in tune with nature or in tune with like a vibration that is above what we normally are used to, I guess, if that makes any sense.
Hmm. So, how long would you say you have been pagan and polytheist? Has it been the same amount of time, or did you discover Hellenic polytheism after you were already pagan? So, what was your story with that?
So for me, it was through Aphrodite. I kind of went through like a depressive episode after I'd had an accident and like fractured my ankle and was feeling very down about myself and like my own self image and things like that. And I discovered, Pastel Priestess on Tumblr because I'm still on Tumblr, love Tumblr. And she is an Aphrodite devotee, and I kind of learned first that that was a thing, and that was back in, I wanna say, like, 2017-ish, 2018-ish, and I don't know, something in my brain just kind of clicked. I was always very into Greek mythology and ancient history as a kid and up until basically middle school, and that kind of dropped off in high school and, like, and earlier in college, and, I started taking classes, on, like, archaeology and mythology in college, and that was kind of near the tail end of my first degree because I have, like, 2 degrees. One is film and media, and the other one is Greek and Roman art and archaeology.
Mm.
And I I'm trying to remember now. It was after I kind of discovered Aphrodite worship that I started kind of veering more into relearning about ancient Greek and Roman culture and kind of seeing like what the contexts were that people were worshiping these gods, and it all kind of started and has all been based around Aphrodite and her worship itself. That's kind of been my gateway into everything, and that's kind of how I began my Renaissance interest in antiquity and world history, and then just like everything that involves the Greek and Roman gods.
Awesome. So, do you consider Aphrodite to be the universal goddess, as in she is over everything, or do you see her as part of the pantheon and your focus is just on goddess Aphrodite mainly? Maybe not only, but mainly.
Well, I feel like it's too complicated of a question to like I guess answer. I feel like it's
Right.
both.
Hmm.
Just because what she represents is it's almost like its own universe into itself because she's so multifaceted. And just like studying her history and just how far back her history goes when you look at how she was developed from older goddesses like Astarte, Inanna, and Ishtar and stuff like that. It's to me, I kind of see it as just like a long line of continuation of this force that we call like desire, love, and just it's almost to me like gravity. She's kind of like gravity. It's just like the push and pull of the universe. But then I do still acknowledge like the other kind of powers and presences of of the other gods as well. You know, but for me, she's kind of the one that's been pushing and pulling me towards things. I think.
Do you and you also worship and pay honor to Eros as well, do you not?
Yes, yes, he's also on my altar as well, yeah.
So do you
Eros and, I also, worship Hermes a lot, and Hestia has come into my life and been more has been like a very grounding force. And as I've gotten older, like the idea of like home and family has become more important. So Hestia has also become like a god that I regularly worship. But I, for the most part, I kind of stay within the Greco-Roman pantheon when it comes to like the gods that I worship and revere and send offerings to and stuff.
So what I really wanna ask you is about your altars. Like I said,
Mhm.
your altars blow me away, and I know I can speak for Aphrodite Child as well. She told me that your picture of Eros, the redheaded Eros that you had, that was the
Mhm.
inspiration that got her interested in Eros, and so
Oh my gosh.
yeah, so you have inspired a lot of people.
I
What
I love that. I had no idea, but that's amazing.
Yes,
I guess
yes,
it's like the whole point of doing it.
yeah, we love your work, especially like I said, your TikToks and your altar videos. So, what tips do you give? I would ask you for someone that wants to build an altar that because yours is stunning. I love your
Yeah,
altars.
thank you, thank you. I guess it'd be like it was stunning because I made a big move recently, and so I had to sell a lot of my stuff, so I should give them away to friends and family. But I guess it's just kind of start off simple, start off with what you feel that you're kind of called to, and it's always great to look at just like historical references and see like how people have worshipped in the past and kind of how what kind of things that they were offering to the gods and such like stuff like that. Um I'm such a huge history nerd, so I'm always doing like research and sifting through academic books and papers and learning about household worship and stuff. But the thrift store is always a great place to start because you always find just like great little like knickknacks and things that just fit perfectly well. um, and then just kind of looking towards nature and seeing how you can incorporate things like that. Because at the end of the day, all the gods in themselves are just kind of connected with nature. They're not outside of it; they're part of it.
That's right. Absolutely. So, you mentioned a big move. So, you're not kidding. So, for those that don't know, you moved from the US and now you live in Athens, Greece. So,
Yep.
what has that been like?
It's been crazy. It's the first time that I've lived outside of. I used to live in Kansas,
Mhm.
and it's been the first time that I've lived outside of Kansas, and it was like a little bit of an. It was an adjustment just because I had to restart fresh, with no family and like a solid support system. But I think it's been a very gratifying move. I feel like it is the right path for me, and that there is something that I'm meant to do to fulfill being here. And the Greeks are amazing. I love being around all these very warm, lively people. I was originally born in Colombia, and my family is all Colombian, and so our cultures are very similar, like Latin American culture to like Southern Mediterranean cultures. They're very like warm people. They're very I don't know, there's, like, a very similar vibe in it that I find that I can relate to a bit, that I don't know, something that I kind of lost living in the States for a while, or I guess all my life because I moved there when I was 1, but, it's been really good, it's been really good, it's been a good adjustment. I took 2 years of ancient Greek in college, but Greek has changed a lot since then, so the language has been interesting to adapt to, but I still have, like, a good grasp of, like, the alphabet and just how some of the words that carried over and stuff like that.
So you're currently trying to learn Greek to be make it easier, I guess?
Yeah, modern Greek, yeah, I took some courses with Pimsleur. It's like, I went to the library back when I was living in Kansas and just, like, checked out the CD-ROM set and would just practice some modern Greek before I came over, which has helped me a lot because I think most Greeks are used to just Americans not having any background in modern Greek or even trying to learn it because it's a different alphabet and it is a tough language to master. So I think they're very appreciative that I'm putting in the work and I'm trying, and that I do have a little bit of I guess ancient Greek gave me an upper hand just because the alphabet and a few other things. But yeah, and I think it's important to, since I'm going to be here for I don't really know how long because my job contract is renewable year by year. And I mean, I signed a 2-year lease with this apartment, so I'll be here at least 2 years. So I think it's important to kind of integrate yourself with the culture that you're, going to be living, that I'm going to be living in. So I mean, for me, it's
Right.
important. Yeah.
That's exciting. I know that you had to be super excited to have the opportunity to actually move to Greece. I can't imagine the opportunity, how that would feel. So, what's been your favorite thing to visit since you've been living in Greece?
Yeah. So I visited the Acropolis. It was beautiful, but it was super hot. And luckily, when we went, it wasn't as crowded. But by the time we were leaving, it got super crowded. So I couldn't really like enjoy it as much as I wanted to. And there are a few spots that I'm not sure if I have access to that I knew that people had little like altars to Aphrodite. And I think it's like on the north slopes of the Acropolis where there used to be a shrine to her where
Mm.
people would leave little like pomegranates and things like that as like offerings to her. I haven't visited that part yet, but I'm like determined to. But I think the coolest thing that I've done so far, just because of work, I haven't been able to explore as much as I wanted to, has been I took a bus ride to Epidaurus, and it's only 2 hours away, and it's more in the Peloponnese, so you get to pass Corinth. But I didn't get to stop in Corinth because I do want to visit the remains of her temple there because it's on top of like the mountain there. But in Epidaurus, I got to watch a performance of Trojan Women, which was written by like Euripides in 4 something BCE. I can't really remember the exact date, but just being there at night with the mountains in the background and the stars and the moon and just seeing these amazing performances by these amazing Greek actors, and it's all in Greek. And they have adapted the language so it's in modern Greek, but the basicness of it is still the same from what I remember when I read it for the first time. And it was just kind of like a surreal experience because you just feel that energy from 2,500 years that's still there, you know? And it's still like the same theater, same seats, and how they always talk about the acoustics there being the best, and it really is. It was such a magical experience, and so far that was probably the coolest thing I've done.
That's awesome. And I know that the local Hellenic Polytheists in Greece and Athens, they do parades and stuff throughout the year. So, are you planning on attending some of those if and when you find out those are happening?
Absolutely. I definitely want to attend and see what that's all about. I haven't had time and I've only been here a month, but I need to do research and like see when they host events and stuff because I think it'd be really cool to experience that, especially with other Hellenic polytheists that are
Oh
here in
yeah,
Greece.
for sure. That would be really cool. Yeah, I'd love to experience that. So one day I do plan to get out there one of these days, but I'm very happy for you because, like I said, that's got to be super exciting. So that's really cool.
Absolutely.
So,
And I'll be here. If I'm still here, come say hi.
all right, for sure. Yeah, for sure. The last question I have, I guess, is how has Hellenic polytheism changed your life?
I guess it's changed my life in the sense that I've become more spiritual and it has helped me motivate myself in a way where you kind of have to put faith in things that are outside of yourself, but it also can be a very great motivating factor. Um, I think I feel like it's hard, especially in the United States, where we're constantly bombarded by capitalism and there is not much of a spiritual background besides I mean, luckily, like, there are alternative religions that are on the rise in the US, and which is great, and I think it's helped me really, like, connect with my spiritual side, and it's helped me ground myself a lot. My sister believes in, like, meditating, and she's very, like, eclectic kind of Buddhist in a way,
Mm,
and I think that there are certain aspects of that that are really good because you do kind of need to connect with things, especially with nature. I read Braiding the Sweetgrass by what's her name? Kimber is her last name, and she was a professor back at my university. And she writes from an indigenous perspective because that's her background, and a lot of it is kind of connecting back and creating a relationship that's reciprocal with nature. And I think a lot of ancient polytheistic religions were very much in tune with that, where there was a reciprocation between the gods and yourself. And I think that that's kind of something that we need in the modern age because we don't really have reciprocal relationships within spirituality very often. I guess with the like most like monotheist religions, it's not, I don't know, it's just not as emphasized.
Mm.
But for me, it's really helped me kind of connect with that kind of vein of oneness that we're all kind of here living on Gaia, and we have to, make the best out of it and help what we can and such, you know? But I don't know, I feel like it's made me a more aware person and it's made me more I guess grounded and try to connect spiritually with important frequencies in life that are at the end of the day really in tune with, I guess, where we want to go as people. I don't know. But it's kind of opened my eyes to things, and it's brought me where I am now. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like I feel like had I not kind of found Hellenic polytheism, I wouldn't. I don't know where I would be career wise. I don't know if I would be here in Athens because a big kind of motivation for me was just like getting to the Mediterranean and seeing like the land in which where these gods were given their names and where their worship began and stuff. And so I think that my life has changed significantly because just to the fact of where I am now and stuff. I don't know, but I appreciate every step of it.
For sure. It's definitely led you to interesting places to actually be, like I said, in Greece. So that is really cool. Very cool. So, where can we find you, Miguel, if we are looking for you on social media?
Yes, so my social media is currently Seafoam Desires, and it's on Instagram and TikTok, and and Tumblr because I still love Tumblr. Um, I know not many people use it, but like that's how I found my Hellenic polytheism. Like that's where I first started learning about it, and just like that there was a community of it. So that's where you can find me, and that's my user, or what do they call it? Your handle or something,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah.
that's where you can find me on the socials, all of them. But yeah.
Awesome. Yes, and I will post those links in the descriptions here because I definitely want people to check it out. Like I said, if you want to be inspired, definitely check out Miguel's altars because they are simply amazing, and we all appreciate it. I just want to thank you because you are an inspiration when it comes to building altars and stuff for sure. It's very
Thank you, thank you. I put a lot of love into them. I miss my altars back at home, but it's like a new chapter. It's time to restart, reconnect with new energy, new vibrations, and just kind of see where things take me, so I can restart like my altars and stuff.
for sure.
But
Sometimes
I have a few already, kind of like starting and stuff.
awesome. Yep,
Yeah.
it never hurts to start over and start afresh because you sometimes build something even bigger and better sometimes when you get a chance to start over for sure.
Yeah, and like all the things that I sold a lot of my because I used to paint all my statues because part of like some of the research that I did back in school and college was about polychromy in statues. So like when statues were painted and stuff, and like how they would look, and kind of what was the main purpose of it, why they would do it, and stuff. So a lot of those I actually ended up selling to a metaphysical store back at home. So I'm kind of excited to see like who ends up becoming their new owners and who like where that's going to go off into the world, which I think is kind of exciting because I feel like everything does kind of happen for a reason, so they'll find their intended homes as they will.
That's true. That's very true. That you never know, getting selling or gifting statues. You never know where that's going to lead someone else in their spiritual path.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah. So thank you again, Miguel, for
Of
joining me.
course.
Um,
Totally.
awesome. Oh, before we go, how have the wildfires in Athens been? I know that's been in the news lately. That
Mhm.
they've been crazy over there. So have they got it kind of under control?
At the moment, yes. When I wanna say 2 weeks ago, it was pretty bad. Most of them are outside of the city and are kind of within the mountains in the suburbs that are more outside of the city, so they don't really come super close to the city itself, so, like, I guess buildings that are in the city aren't as that's not a huge wildfire issue, but the air quality gets really bad, and just you can just see the difference. It's like night and day where there's just a bunch of smoke and you can barely like see into the mountains. One of my coworkers had it really bad because they live in Corinth, and they were saying that the visibility was down completely, like you couldn't see too far in front of you.
Mm,
And it kind of just depends where the wind takes all the smoke, but it's really bad like when it happens, and it affects a lot of the wildlife there as well. And it's going to take decades for these forests to be regrown, which is really sad because a lot of people here are used to them, and that's where they go when they want to like take their families on vacation, or where they want to take them hiking and stuff, or for camping. And it's just kind of sad to see it all get burnt down in just a matter of a few days.
yeah. So our thoughts are with you and the people of Greece over there. Hopefully, it's going to get obvious. It will get better. It's just going to take some time. But yeah,
Yeah.
sorry to hear about that over there for you guys. So
Yeah, but
mm,
I know it'll get better, but just like the intense heat and the strong winds just don't help at all. But I think we're gonna get some rain this week, so anything that's still lit will get hopefully doused out.
awesome.
Mhm.
All right. So yeah, I guess that's it. So again,
I can show you
again,
some. I can show you the altars that I have right now if you
yes,
want.
please. Yes,
Okay, totally.
for
Okay,
sure.
one sec. Let
Okay.
me switch my camera. It's gonna be like a mini apartment tour, I guess, because my room is kind of a whole Aphrodite shrine. But okay, so this is my current Aphrodite setup. I was telling you earlier that I was painting today because I got this sculpture recently and it was all bronze, and I was just finally getting to painting it, and I wanted to do it before we had our interview.
Hmm.
And it's really small compared to what I had before, but it has a lot of elements that were still there. And then I have a few little prints that I've gotten. I got this one in a bookshop here. That's from a tarot. No, that's from an oracle deck that I had gotten before I came, and that's the only card that I brought with me because I was using it as a bookmark because I'm always reading. And then this I got at one of the museums here.
Mm,
And then underneath, I just have a bunch of books that relate to Aphrodite, and also supplies for incense and stuff to burn because I have yet to find cone incense to use this little incense tray and stuff. But that's like the current little setup. And then I kind of have like another space for her where I have my Birth of Venus tapestry. And then I have Eros there, and then another little Eros there. And those are by this artist on um, Society 6 called Mahotz, Mohtz. And she's really good. She's done a lot of like prints of the Greco Roman gods, and they're always really beautiful
mm,
and stuff. And then I can also show you my altar to Hermes that I have going on.
okay.
Oh, and I also have one to Hestia, which is super small, but it's like her little spot, and whenever I have dinner, I just light her candles,
Mm,
or if I'm ever making food too. And then, oh yeah, so this is Hermes. There's a phallus there, so don't look at that. But it's just like a little dish, and I found this turtle shell like outside of my apartment in like a pot, a little flower pot. And so I just repurposed it, and then I got this little statue here in Athens, the one on the right, the silver one I got on Athens, and then this one I brought from home.
mm,
And then I do have a little Artemis area because I have pets back at home that I miss, and she has a kind of aspect where she takes care of animals, so I have that part. Um, and then I kind of have a small Dionysus part. It's kind of a mess because I was painting down there. But I do have like a small shrine to Dionysus going on with some candles there. I need to extend it or put something in that corner.
mhm.
But slowly and surely, things will be put together. It's been a process, and I don't want to like spend a bunch all at once. And
Right.
because my altars back at home, it took a while to get all that stuff, and they were mostly thrifted. Like, the things that I bought were mostly from thrift stores and stuff. But that's kind of what I have, like, going on right now. They're not as lavish and as big as my old ones, but, you know, once I get, like, kind of more space figured out, because I don't have that much tabletop space like I did before, because I had most of my stuff on just kind of bookshelves and on top of, like, my dresser, because my main Aphrodite altar was on my dresser. I'm sorry, back at home, and so it was a pretty big piece of furniture. So now she still has space in my room because I feel like I like having her nearby, at least like her altar and stuff. But yeah, that. I know they're very modest now, but got to start somewhere.
That's right. Yeah, and it takes time to build too. And I agree. Thrift stores are a great place to look for
Hmm.
things. You don't have to spend a lot of money on statues. They can cost a little bit of coin, but everything else you can
Yeah.
find on thrift stores and thrift stores.
Yeah, thrift stores and like definitely like craft stores too. You can always find things there. I got in the habit of just like I would always find little like Greco-Roman columns at thrift stores or at the craft store, and then I would just paint them, like to go with whatever color scheme that I wanted for my altar. And so like you never know what you can find at thrift stores. That's the fun thing.
That's right. Yeah, you never know. Sometimes you don't come out with anything, and sometimes you come back with a little lighter of a wallet. We'll say.
No, yeah.
Yeah,
And at least it's not going towards like Amazon. It's just going towards like, like thrift stores, which could
true.
be like a mom and pop or something. So it's going back to your local community.
Very true. Yep, yep. Especially the ones like you said, mom and pop shops. Never hurts to support them as well, for sure.
Yeah, the antique mall back at home, they were amazing. I found so many great things there.
Oh yeah. All right. So again, thank you for joining me, Miguel. It's been
Of
a lot of
course, of
fun.
course.
Oh lordy, I lost my phone.
Technical difficulties, all good.
That's right. Yeah, people don't know it, but I prop up my phone on like empty boxes and stuff.
I feel that I currently have my phone propped up on my laptop, so
Yeah.
just gotta make do with what you got.
Yep, that's right. Anyway, thank
Yeah.
you again and for
Mm,
joining us. And I'm very happy to finally get to speak to you because, like I said, I myself included, love your stuff. So
thank
definitely,
you.
definitely. So, well, there it goes again.
It's okay. Do you have any other questions or anything for me?
Nah, good. But I think the phone is telling me it's time to go.
Gotcha, gotcha. Totally fair.
But no, no. But yeah. Anything else you like to share before you go? We go, Miguel.
Um, I don't know. I just like, I guess, like, if people that are starting off, I feel like especially for like Aphrodite stuff, Aphrodite like research. I feel like Venus and Aphrodite by Bettany Hughes is a great resource to begin with because she
For sure.
really delved into like the history for her. Um, if people are interested in like Sappho, I highly recommend. There's a Stanley Lombardo translation of Sappho's work that's really good and has a really good intro. There's another book that I read that was really good called Searching for Sappho, and I don't remember the author's name, but that's the name of the title, and that has a really great, just like all around, kind of contextualizes things. And I don't know, I'm a big reader, so I
Mm,
love to read and stuff, and I'm always like reading like historical sources and such because again my class degree got me like into sniffing into JSTOR and seeing like what all the academia stuff is, but it can be kind of dense, so it's not always super fun.
Searching for Sappho. So, what is that? You got me interested. What is that book about?
It's basically like taking every little shred of evidence that we have of Sappho, and it's like chapter by chapter figuring out like who the sources are from these texts and what kind of their, because we only have so many pieces of her work and a lot of them are fragmented, and she does a really good job of kind of giving you a full view of Sappho's life from what we have of it, and she also just um she contextualizes the sources that we do have that talk about her, because we have a lot of people that quote Sappho from antiquity that are just doing like little snippets of her work, and so like we might have those snippets and stuff, but we also have to think about like what they were talking about. But she goes through kind of just different stages of her life. The book is kind of divided up that way.
Mm,
Um, and it also kind of contextualizes the world that Sappho was living in the let me think, 7th century, 8th century BC and stuff. So it kind of puts you in that world. It's a little more researchy. It's not like a narrative, but there is kind of like a narrative in it because you get to like read her poetry because she has the poetry there, and then she also talks about just like what some of these words mean in Greek, in that form of ancient Greek, because Sappho was writing in a specific dialect that was also specific to her time period. But it's really good. I really enjoyed it because it really kind of just makes you understand like who she could have been and why she was writing. She has a whole chapter just on Sappho and the goddess being Aphrodite, because Sappho and Aphrodite have such an intimate relationship with each other, because that's our longest surviving, or I think the most complete surviving poem that we have of Sappho is her hymn to Aphrodite, and it's really beautiful and stuff. So it's I don't know. I love Sappho. I love her poetry. So it was just one of those books where you kind of get a better picture of who she was, or I guess who she might have been, and the world that she lived in. It also talks about other women that were female poets that came after Sappho. So you kind of get a better sense of like how her poetry inspired other women and the legacy that she left for all of us, I guess.
fantastic. I want to check that book out. It
Yeah,
sounds
I
really
first
interesting.
found it at my library, so I'm sure it's like it can be found at the local library because that's where I found it first.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It kind of puts her poetry in context, like you said, of the time she lived and all that stuff. That'd be really cool to learn about for
Yeah,
softball fans for sure.
absolutely, absolutely. I really enjoyed it. What was another book? What's her name? I can't remember her last name, but she did another book on Sappho, but it's mostly just like Greek on one side and then English on the other side. And so I guess that works more if people are wanting to do like reconstruction, like um, devotional poetry to Aphrodite and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But Searching for Sappho has so far been my favorite.
Awesome,
Mhm.
awesome. I think I might buy that. Actually, that sounds really good to me because I've
Yeah,
been a fan of Sappho as well. So
me
absolutely
too.
love.
Her
Yeah,
poetry is just so like emotionally charged, and it's so different from, like, Hesiod and Homer that are only, like 100 years before her, you
it
know?
is.
Yeah, yeah, so, I don't know, I think she's very cool, and especially that she's just one of those women in history that has stood out for so long, and we know so little about her. It just kind of shows, like, how great her full, um what's the word? Corpus of poetry or something? Well, her full extent of what her work might have been like, how did it survive to modern times?
Mm.
But, they're always finding new fragments every year and stuff. It's just a matter of people having to um translate it and stuff, because her form of Greek is it's not easy, because I did a little bit of it in college, like to translate for one of my classes, and it's not easy.
So
But it's really beautiful. Mhm.
so Lesbos, the island of Lesbos, I guess, used a different kind of Greek than outside the norm. Is that the difficulty?
Yeah, so the dialect is called Aeolian Greek, and it's different like when I was in college, we first learned Attic Greek, specifically like 5th century Attic Greek, so like the Greek that would have been spoken by like Plato and Socrates and like all of the philosophers that were living in that area. But Sappho is like a good 2,500 years before that, and because she's on the island of Lesbos, that it's closer to Turkey, at least it's closer to what they would have called the Ionian Greeks. It's just like its own dialect. The words are still the same, but sometimes they're slightly different, and they have sometimes like a different meter. And so, like, whenever and for, like, my assignments and stuff, I couldn't always rely on the definitions for Attic Greek. I'd have to look for the Aeolic Greek, definitions and stuff like that. And then Homer's is his own, like, category of Greek, you know? Like, his Greek wasn't actually spoken by anybody, it was just, like, the Greek that was just used for Homer. Yeah, it would have been like
Interesting.
yeah, it would have been like if you ever if you ever had like a kooky English teacher in high school that decided they were gonna read like Beowulf or Canterbury Tales in the original like middle English, that kind of would have been what it would have been like for a Greek living in like the 5th century to hear Homer being spoken. It would be like no one speaks like this anymore. And Homer is also like a mishmash of different dialects that have just been meshed together, and his dialect is kind of its own thing, and it's just because it's just like how it was reported at the end of the day. So it's just like Homeric Greek is like its own thing, and then you have like Attic Greek, and then you have the other like smaller dialects, and it just changes over time like a lot. And like one of my professors said, like no matter how skilled do you think you can get with ancient Greek? There's no one person that has ever mastered it, just because it just encompasses such a large span of time and different areas. So it was like the hardest classes that I ever took in college, even harder than like the math orientated classes because I'm not a great math student by any means, but ancient Greek kicked my ass. More than, like, anything I've ever taken, but it was worth it at the end because, it's helping me with learning modern Greek, and it put me, like, at a slight advantage than somebody that had to start from scratch.
Mm. So when people say they're learning ancient Greek, it's a dialect. There's more than just, it's not just ancient
It could
Greek.
be any yeah, it could be
Yeah.
any number of you gotta be like, "Okay, well, what kind of ancient Greek are you learning?" Because, like, a lot of people that are there's, like, Koine Greek because that was, like, what the Bible was first written in, so you have, like, people that are, like, scholars of the Bible that only know Koine Greek, and that Greek didn't even start coming into being until the later Hellenistic period, so, like, you're getting into, like, almost 1 CE and stuff, and then you have like, Homeric, and then after that, you have, like, the Attic Greek because everybody kind of started speaking Attic Greek because the Athenian Empire just, like, spread everywhere, so everybody kinda got used to that. People in the Peloponnese were speaking their own dialect, but for the most part in academia, people kind of
You
getting
there?
a phone call.
Oh,
Sorry, I was getting a phone
it's all good.
call and, like, my phone stopped. There's just, like, a bunch of dialects, and it just encompasses so many different time periods that there's like no just like one form of ancient Greek, but for the most part the standard is usually just is like Attic Greek, because then that's when like most people like read the philosophers, and that's when people read like the tragedians and stuff,
Mm.
and so that's kind of like where their Greek is usually. And
And modern Greek and ancient Greek and modern Greek are like apples and oranges, two different kinds of things, I guess.
kind of, but there's still a lot of overlap with it, and it always surprises me the things that have changed and the things that have stayed the same. A lot of the pronunciations have changed, and there's still like a lot of academic debate on like what is the true form of ancient Greek and like how you should pronounce it and stuff. But like it for the most part, it's still the same language because they use the same alphabet. The gram they their cases have changed. I think they have like one less case than they did in ancient Greek, which is just like how they conjugate their words. Um, but like if someone knows ancient Greek, they can probably like get their way through talking no. Having a conversation would be totally different, but like reading things is a little bit easier just because again the alphabet stayed the same, but like you can't have a conversation with somebody. Like it's just impossible.
Oh yeah, I
Like
bet.
sometimes I'll try to use the ancient Greek word and people just look at me like what in the what?
Yeah. Yeah, I bet. I mean, even English has changed so much through the centuries too, so for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. Again, it's like it's like quoting like Canterbury Tales Middle English to somebody that speaks modern English. It's like you
Right.
can pick up a few of the phrases, but at the end of the day, you're like, what is this person saying?
Yeah. Very cool. So, yeah. I never expected us talking we would go into a language class talking about the Greek language, but I'm glad we did because I actually learned a lot today. So very cool stuff.
Totally, absolutely. I love
Awesome.
talking with you. It was really fun. I really enjoyed it.
For sure. And it was fun finally getting to talk to you face to face as well. And I'll be sharing your stuff, like I said, everywhere because I want more people to see your work because you do a lot of good stuff. So
Thank you,
absolutely
thank you. Hopefully to make more work in the future. Even better.
awesome. Definitely looking forward to it as well. I'm sure you'll keep us up to date on TikTok. I know you use TikTok a lot now. Is that your main social media outlet when it comes to showing stuff? I guess.
I guess I haven't posted anything in a while, but I'm trying to get back. Sometimes I'll like post consistently, and I've kind of I don't know when is the last. I think I haven't posted since May, just because getting ready for the move to Greece was like a huge process because I had to get a visa. I had to like get all these documents ready for residency. So I haven't posted in a hot second, but I got this statue and usually I like to post like whenever I do like my little creative process with the statues. And I showed you earlier, I was like, I just finished painting this. So, and I still need to touch up a few things now that I look at it. But I'll probably make a video soon and I've been trying to I have 2 phones right now because one of my phones is locked, like, the SIM card is locked, and to use, like, a Greek phone here, you have to make sure that your iPhone is unlocked.
Oh
Apple's just
yeah.
making it difficult in the modern days. So, one of my so I have just, like, I have videos and photos on both of these phones right now, and I just need to, like, combine them and make a video. I tried I something will be made in the next month or so, depending if how crazy work gets, because work has also been a little bit of, time consuming.
Oh yeah. I understand that. For sure. Whew.
Mhm.
All right. So I guess that's it. And I'm sure we could talk more about languages and all that stuff, but I
Oh,
could
I'd love to. I'd love it. Any talk about history, talk about all of it anytime.
who knows, maybe in the future I may get with you about maybe doing a show about something that we can talk about. Who knows?
That'd
For
be fun.
sure.
I'd love that.
Awesome. Well, we thank you again for joining us, Miguel.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And
Yeah,
it was a great fun time.
for sure. And I thank everyone watching, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Here we go.